What happens when one of Hollywood's most unpredictable comedians sits down with America's sweetheart for what should have been a lighthearted chat, but instead becomes the most uncomfortable television moment in recent memory? Today, we're diving into the explosive encounter between Jim Carrey and Kelly Clarkson that had producers scrambling behind the scenes and left audiences speechless. If you want to see more stories like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments what you think really went down. Now let's get into it. The Kelly Clarkson Show had always prided itself on creating a warm, welcoming atmosphere where celebrities could relax and share genuine moments with their host. Kelly's natural charm and ability to connect with her guests had made the show a favorite stop for A-listers promoting their latest projects. So when Jim Carrey's representatives reached out to book an appearance, the production team was thrilled. After all, Carrey was a comedy legend with decades of beloved films under his belt, and his appearances were always entertaining. The initial setup seemed perfect. Carrey was there to discuss his latest artistic endeavors, including his venture into painting and sculpture, which had become a passionate pursuit for him in recent years. The segment was supposed to highlight his creative evolution beyond comedy, showing a more introspective side of the man who had made millions laugh with characters like Ace Ventura and The Mask. As the cameras rolled and Kelly delivered her trademark warm introduction, everything appeared normal. Carrey walked out with his characteristic energy, waving to the audience who erupted in applause. He settled into the guest chair with that familiar Jim Carrey grin, and Kelly launched into her first question about his artistic journey. So, Jim, I have to say, when people think of you, they think of these incredible comedic performances, but you've really embraced visual arts in a big way. Tell us about that transition, Kelly said, leaning forward with genuine interest. Carrey's response started typically enough, discussing how art had become a form of therapy for him, a way to express emotions that comedy couldn't always capture. But there was something different in his tone, a subtle edge that the production crew began to notice. His answers were more philosophical than expected, touching on themes of reality, consciousness, and what he called the illusion of celebrity. You see, Kelly, Carrey said, his voice taking on an almost hypnotic quality, we're all just playing roles, aren't we? You're playing the role of the cheerful host, I'm playing the role of the grateful guest. But what's really happening here? What's the truth behind all these smiles and carefully crafted questions? Kelly laughed, thinking this was building toward one of Carrey's famous comedic bits. Well, I like to think my smiles are pretty genuine. Jim, I really do enjoy getting to know my guests and hearing their stories. But that's just it, Carrey continued, his intensity growing. Stories. We're all telling stories, creating narratives that serve a purpose. Your story is that you're this authentic, down-to-earth host who genuinely cares about celebrities and their projects. My story is that I'm this enlightened artist who's moved beyond the shallow world of Hollywood comedy. But what if none of it's real? The audience was still chuckling, unsure whether this was performance art or genuine conversation. Kelly, ever the professional, tried to steer things back on track. I think authenticity is something we all strive for. But speaking of your art, I'd love to hear about your latest pieces. I understand you've been working on some pretty large-scale sculptures. Carrey's expression shifted, and for a moment, his famous animated features became almost stone-like. Large-scale? He repeated slowly. Everything's large-scale now, isn't it, Kelly? Your show, your brand, your carefully constructed image. Tell me, when was the last time you had a conversation that wasn't designed to serve some corporate agenda? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Kelly's smile flickered for just a second, but she recovered quickly. I have genuine conversations all the time, Jim. In fact, I hope that's what we're having right now. Are we, though? Carrey pressed, leaning forward in his chair. Or are we performing for these cameras? For these people in the audience who've been told when to laugh and when to applaud? Look around, Kelly. Look at what we've created here. It's a beautiful lie, isn't it? The audience was beginning to sense that something was off. The energy in the studio had shifted from anticipation to confusion. Kelly's producers were frantically whispering in the control room, wondering if they should cut to commercial or let this play out. I think, Kelly said carefully, that entertainment can be honest and meaningful at the same time. People come to shows like this because they want to feel connected, to see that their favorite performers are real people with real experiences. Carrey let out a laugh that was somehow both delighted and unsettling. Real people, he echoed. Kelly, do you know what's real? The fact that you're sitting there, desperately trying to maintain control of an interview that stopped being an interview about 5 minutes ago. The fact that your producers are probably losing their minds right now because I'm not sticking to the script they approved. That's real. This performance we're doing for the masses. This isn't real, Jim Kelly said, and for the first time, there was a hint of steel in her voice. I think we might be getting a little too philosophical for our audience. Maybe we could talk about your upcoming projects. My upcoming projects, Carey mused, as if the phrase itself was absurd. Kelly, my only project is waking up. My only project is helping people see through the elaborate charade we've all agreed to participate in. And right now, in this moment, I'm wondering if you're ready to wake up too, or if you're going to keep playing your part until the curtain falls. The tension in the studio was now palpable. Kelly's smile had become more forced, and she was clearly struggling to regain control of the interview. The audience sat in uncomfortable silence, no longer sure if they were witnessing comedy or something far more unsettling. Jim, Kelly said, her voice firmer now, I respect that you found meaning in your art and your personal philosophy, but we have an audience here who came to be entertained and informed. Maybe we could find a way to share your insights while also respecting the format of the show. Carey's eyes lit up with what could only be described as manic delight. The format of the show, he repeated, clapping his hands slowly. Kelly, you just said the most honest thing since I sat down. The format, the container that holds all of our pretending. But what happens when someone refuses to stay in the container? Well, Kelly replied, trying to inject some lightness back into the conversation. I suppose that's when things get interesting. But interesting doesn't always mean comfortable for everyone involved. Comfortable, Carey said, standing up abruptly from his chair, causing the audience to gasp. Kelly, comfort is the enemy of truth. Comfort is what keeps people asleep, consuming, buying into whatever story they're being sold. And right now, you're trying to sell them the story that everything is fine. That this is just another fun celebrity chat. Kelly's producer was now visible at the edge of the stage, gesturing frantically, but she waved him off. Jim, I need you to sit back down. We can have this conversation, but I need you to work with me here. Work with you, Carey laughed, but he remained standing. Kelly, you're still thinking like a host. You're still trying to manage this situation like it's a problem to be solved instead of a moment of genuine human interaction. Breaking through all the artificial nonsense, it is a problem, Kelly said, her patience clearly wearing thin. It's a problem because you're making my audience uncomfortable. It's a problem because you're not respecting the agreement we made when you came on this show. And it's becoming a problem because you seem more interested in your own philosophical agenda than in having a real conversation. Carey's expression shifted dramatically, cycling through emotions like a broken television, changing channels. There it is, he said quietly, but his voice carried clearly through the studio. There's the real Kelly Clarkson, not the manufactured sweetness, not the corporate-approved enthusiasm. Just a person who's frustrated because someone won't play by the rules. The rules exist for a reason, Jim Kelly shot back. They exist so that everyone, the guests, the audience, the crew, everyone can have a good experience. What you're doing right now isn't enlightened, it's selfish. The word selfish hung in the air like a slap. Carey's face went through another rapid transformation, this time settling into something cold and calculating. Selfish, he repeated slowly. Kelly, do you know what's selfish? Building an entire career on being relatable and authentic, while carefully controlling every aspect of your public persona. Do you know what's selfish? Pretending to care about your guests' stories when really you're just mining them for content that serves your brand. Kelly stood up now to her professional composure, finally cracking. That is not fair, and it's not true. I do care about my guests. I care about the people who watch this show. And I care about creating something positive in a world that has enough negativity. Positive? Carey scoffed. Kelly, you're peddling positivity like it's a product. Feel good, buy more, consume more content. Stay distracted from the fact that nothing about this industry or this culture is designed to help people grow or evolve or wake up. And what you're doing right now is helping people grow, Kelly demanded. Ambushing someone who invited you into their space. Disrespecting the people who came here to enjoy themselves, hijacking a platform that isn't yours to make some point about consciousness or whatever this is supposed to be. Carey's laugh was sharp and brittle. At least I'm being honest about what I'm doing. You're still pretending this is about entertainment and connection when it's really about ratings and revenue and keeping people pacified with the illusion of intimacy with celebrities. You know what? Jim, Kelly said, and her voice had dropped to a dangerous quiet. You want honesty? Here's some honesty. You're not some enlightened truth-teller. You're not helping anyone by disrupting something that brings people joy. You're just a person who's so wrapped up in your own issues that you can't respect other people's boundaries or choices. Boundaries, Carey said, his voice rising again. Kelly, boundaries are just walls we build to keep ourselves separate from each other and from reality. Every boundary you've set up here, every rule, every format, every carefully rehearsed response, it's all designed to maintain distance and control. Some distance and control are good things, Kelly fired back. They create safety. They create structure. They allow people to trust that when they tune in or show up, they're going to get something worthwhile instead of becoming unwilling participants in someone else's breakdown. The word breakdown seemed to hit Carey like a physical blow. For a moment, his manic energy faltered, and something vulnerable flashed across his face. But then the mask snapped back into place, harder than before. Breakdown, he said quietly. Is that what you think this is, Kelly? Is that the story you're going to tell yourself and your audience about what happened here today? That crazy Jim Carrey had a breakdown on your show. I think, Kelly said carefully, that you're going through something. And instead of dealing with it privately or with professionals who can help you, you're trying to use my show as therapy, and that's not fair to anyone. Carey was quiet for a long moment, staring at Kelly with an intensity that made everyone in the studio uncomfortable. When he finally spoke, his voice was completely different, almost childlike in its vulnerability. What if I told you that I don't know how to deal with it privately anymore, Kelly? What if I told you that the line between Jim Carrey the performer and Jim Carrey the person disappeared so long ago that I don't know which one is real? What if this, right here, is the most honest I've been in years? The vulnerable moment that had flickered across Jim Carrey's face seemed to soften something in Kelly's expression. For just an instant, the host disappeared and the human being remained, recognizing pain in another person despite the chaos of the previous minutes. Jim, she said gently, if that's really what this is about. If you're struggling with your identity and your place in all of this, then I understand that. I really do. But this isn't the place or the way to work through those feelings. Kara's eyes searched her face, as if trying to determine whether her compassion was genuine or just another performance. Isn't it though, Kelly? Isn't this exactly the place? We're here, in front of all these people, pretending to be something we're not. And for once, just once, someone is refusing to pretend. Doesn't that mean something? It means something, Kelly acknowledged, but it also means you're asking everyone in this room to be part of your personal journey without their consent. These people came here for a show, Jim. They didn't come here to be your therapy group. Carey turned to look at the audience, many of whom were shifting uncomfortably in their seats, unsure whether to laugh, applaud, or simply leave. Look at them, Kelly, he said, gesturing broadly. Look how uncomfortable they are with authenticity. Look how much they want me to go back to being the funny man, the entertainer, the product they paid to see. They want you to be considerate, Kelly corrected. There's a difference between authenticity and ink. You can be real without being cruel or disruptive. Can you, though? Carey challenged, spinning back to face her. Can you really be authentic within a system that's designed to package and sell human experience? Kelly, every genuine moment you've ever had on this show has been filtered through sponsors and network executives and focus groups. Kelly's jaw tightened. You don't get to tell me what my genuine moments are, Jim. You don't get to decide that everything I do is fake just because it happens on television. Some of us have figured out how to be real people within professional contexts. Real people, Carey repeated mockingly. Kelly, you're so convinced that you've found the perfect balance between authentic and marketable that you can't see how the marketable part has consumed the authentic part entirely. And you're so convinced that destruction equals enlightenment that you can't see how much damage you're doing to people who are just trying to do their jobs and create something positive, Kelly shot back. The exchange was becoming more heated with each volley. Carey began pacing behind his chair like a caged animal, his movements erratic and unpredictable. Positive, he said again, the word dripping with disdain. "Kelly, what's positive about maintaining illusions? What's positive about keeping people asleep and comfortable in their consumer pods? What's positive about attacking someone who invited you into their space?" Kelly demanded, her voice rising to match his energy. "What's positive about making hundreds of people uncomfortable just so you can make some point about consciousness that you could make in 1,000 different ways that don't involve ambushing a talk show? Because talk shows are where the lies live." Carey exploded, his composure completely shattered now. "Because this is where people come to be told that everything is fine, that celebrities are just like them, that consumption equals connection, that entertainment equals fulfillment. Someone has to break the spell, Kelly. Breaking spells isn't your job, Jim," Kelly shouted back. "Your job was to come here, talk about your art, maybe make people laugh, and treat everyone involved with basic respect. Instead, you've turned this into your personal philosophical battlefield." Carey stopped pacing and stared at her with wild eyes. "My job," he said slowly. "Kelly, my job for 30 years has been to make people laugh so they don't have to think about how empty their lives are. My job has been to be a dancing monkey for the entertainment industrial complex." "Well, what if I'm done with that job?" "Then quit," Kelly exclaimed, throwing her hands up in frustration. "Write a book, start a podcast, create your own platform where you can share your philosophy all you want, but don't come on to someone else's show and hijack it for your personal crisis." "Personal crisis?" Carey laughed bitterly. "Kelly, this isn't a personal crisis. This is a collective awakening that you're too invested in the system to recognize. No." "Jim," Kelly said firmly, her voice cutting through his manic energy like a blade, "this is you having a moment and trying to make everyone else responsible for managing it. This is you using your fame and platform to force people to engage with your internal struggles whether they want to or not." The words seemed to hit Carey harder than anything Kelly had said so far. He stopped moving entirely, his face cycling through emotions too quickly to track. "You think I'm using my fame?" he said quietly. "I think you're using everything at your disposal to avoid dealing with whatever you're really going through in private," Kelly replied, "and that includes this show, this audience, and me." Carey's laugh when it came was hollow and defeated. "Kelly, do you know what's funny? Really, genuinely funny. You're absolutely right. I am using all of this. I am avoiding dealing with my problems privately. But do you know why?" "Tell me," Kelly said, and for the first time in minutes, her voice was purely compassionate. "Because I don't know who I am when the cameras aren't rolling," Carey said, his voice breaking slightly. "Because I've been performing for so long that I've forgotten what it feels like to just be a person in a room with other people. Because this, right here, this chaos and confrontation and mess, this is the most real I've felt in years." The studio was completely silent now. Even Kelly's producer had stopped gesturing from the wings. The weight of Carey's admission hung in the air like smoke. Kelly took a deep breath, and when she spoke, her voice was steady but not unkind. "Jim, I hear you. I really do. And I'm sorry that you're struggling with those feelings. But you can't use other people's spaces and other people's comfort to work through those struggles. It's not fair, and it's not sustainable." Carey nodded slowly, some of the manic energy finally draining out of him. "You're right," he said quietly. "You're absolutely right. But Kelly, what am I supposed to do with all of this? What am I supposed to do when I don't know how to be a person anymore?" "You figure it out away from here," Kelly said gently but firmly. "You get help from people who are trained to help with these kinds of issues. You don't make a talk show audience into your therapy group." Carey was quiet for a long moment, staring at the floor. When he looked up, his eyes were clearer than they had been since he sat down. "I think I need to leave now," he said. "I think that's probably best," Kelly agreed. As Carey walked toward the exit, he paused and turned back one final time. "Kelly, for what it's worth, you handled this better than I would have. You were more patient and more kind than I deserved." "I hope you get the help you need," Jim Kelly replied. "I really do." After Carey disappeared behind the stage curtain, Kelly turned to face her stunned audience and crew. The silence stretched for what felt like an eternity before she finally spoke. "Well," she said with a shaky laugh, "that certainly wasn't what any of us expected today." The audience, unsure how to respond, offered scattered, uncertain applause. Kelly looked directly into the camera, her professional composure returning but tempered with genuine emotion. I think what we just witnessed shows us something important about the difference between authenticity and consideration, between being real and being respectful. We can be genuine without being destructive, and we can be honest without being hurtful. She paused, collecting her thoughts. I hope Jim finds what he's looking for, and I hope he finds it in a way that doesn't require other people to pay the price for his journey. With that, Kelly signaled to her producer, and the show cut to commercial, leaving viewers around the world to process one of the most uncomfortable and revealing celebrity interviews in television history. What did you think of this explosive encounter? Do you believe Kelly handled the situation appropriately, or should she have been more understanding of Jim's obvious struggles? Subscribe and let me know in the comments what you would have done if you were in Kelly's position. During this unforgettable television moment,